What the fuck? Hey, welcome back to another episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jet. Just give me a second here. I need to take in what the hell just happened. What? I'm in shock. I'm in disbelief. What just happened? What the hell just happened? I'm sorry, but there's a lot of stuff we need to talk about. Holy hell. I don't even know where to start. There was a lot of moments that happened. I don't know whether to go over the entire race or just talk about the part that everyone wants me to talk about, and that is what took place with, I think, 10 laps ago of the race. I'll just say this. Stage 1, from lap 1 till 10 laps ago, fantastic race. Lot of different battles, lots of action that went on. We're going to go over the entire race. It's going to be quick, but if you guys want me to discuss what happened with 10 laps ago onwards, I'll leave a timestamp in the description down below if you want to skip to that part. But we're going to go over the entire race and explain the shit show that was the inaugural Verizon 200 at the Brickyard for the Cup Series. So stage 1, all right? So stage 1, it was actually between two drivers, Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe. Briscoe put on a strong performance today, especially in stage 1, fighting hard with drivers like Elliott, like William Byron, like Martin Truex Jr., the front runners of the field, putting up a very strong effort against those guys. So he showed a lot of speed, which was not surprising considering the fact that he runs really good on road courses, especially here at the Indy road course, as he is a former winner here last year in the Xfinity Series. So it was not surprising to see him run really well. Now, stage 1, Tyler Reddick won that stage, which is very important considering the position that he is in and stage points and how much he needs that. So it was very important for him to get those stage points. The reason why he won that stage was because you had those drivers like Briscoe, Elliott, and those guys. They pitted with 2 or 3 laps ago to set themselves up for the second stage. Stage 2 was absolute chaos. I mean, it began with Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott on the front row. Keselowski was the only driver that did not pit at all so far in this race. In stage 2, he was the only driver that had not come up pit road at all. So, of course, although he put up a very strong fight, he held up the field dramatically. In turn number 7, Byron gets underneath Keselowski but can't make a pass. That allows Chase Elliott to enter the mix, gets on the inside of Byron. They race side by side for a bit. Then Elliott goes after Keselowski for the lead. Side by side the entire straightaway, but he will clear him entering turn number 1. Then you got contact between Briscoe and Kyle Larson, and then William Byron beaches turns 5 and 6, goes out way wide to end up falling back to 7th place. But even though Keselowski, he's getting pushed, from every direction, he's still putting up a strong fight. But again, he is still holding up the field big time. We're seeing cars behind the two getting bunched up, getting shoved around each other. And eventually, Keselowski gets pushed off of the racetrack in turn 7 by his teammate, Ryan Blaney. Then you had more incidents. In turn 12, DiBenedetto and Christopher Bell goes off track. Chastain in turn number 1 loses it under braking and spins in front of Hamlin. No damage, no caution. His teammate, Kurt Busch, Chastain's teammate, Kurt Busch, he had to go on to pit road after reporting a tire going down after that whole little bunched up drama between Keselowski and the other drivers. Keselowski then spun again laps later off of turn number 11 and backs it into the wall, heavy damage to the rear of his car. Joe Logano on turn number 7, he enters in that corner too hard and spins while also hitting the back end of Kyle Larson. Then of course, just like in stage number 1, the drivers up front like Elliott, Larson, Kyle Busch, Hamlin, then you had Allmendinger and even Cole Custer showed some speed in stage number 2. Those front runners, they pitted to set up for stage 3, allowing Tyler Reddick, again a driver that needs stage points, to go out in front to the lead, and he would win stage 2 once again, holding off his RCR teammate Austin Dillon. There was also a really good battle near the end between Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. They were battling extremely hard for 9th place on what would eventually be the race lead in stage number 3. Larson would end up getting the better end of that deal by the end of the stage. And yeah, stage 1 was Briscoe and Chase Elliott. Stage 2, though, was Elliott and Larson, which was the battle we expected coming off from last weekend at Watkins Glen. Also, some drivers like, look at 6th place, Justin Haley, 7th, Corley Joy, 8th, Andy Lally, Larson 9th, and Elliott rounds out the top 10 in stage 2. All right, now we got to talk about what took place in stage 3, because I'm pretty sure that's the only thing y'all want me to talk about is what happened in stage 3. So Larson gets the preferred lane. He gets out ahead of Elliott. Now you got HMS teammates 1, 2, and 3. We throw in William Byron now in the mix. Then in turns 5 and 6, a part of the track where you really can't go side by side all that well. Eric Amarola and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., they make contact. Both of them spin. That was not the caution, though. The first real caution, though, would come out, not for the 2 drivers that spun, but for an entire radiator pan and splitter structure that's underneath the car was wedged underneath the turn 6 curb. That's going to be very important, all right? I say that because it's going to foreshadow when we talk about that curb later on in this video. I believe when that radiator pan got wedged underneath the curb, it might have loosened it. My opinion, but I think it might have loosened it, and that's what allowed for the chaos to ensue later on in the race. After that, nothing else, all right? We restarted with 39 laps to go. We had almost about a 3 wide or even 4 wide action entering turn 1. They all made it. HMS still 1, 2, and 3. A little bit later on with 32 to go, Austin Cindric, who was running 14th position at the time, gets hit by Kurt Busch and spins, but no caution. And around that time, we saw pit stops begin. Briscoe, he was falling back when stage 3 began after flat spotting his tires early on. Also, Austin Cindric pits after he got spun by Kurt Busch. Then on lap 54, Truex reports a loose wheel and has to give up his position to pit. Also, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, and Ross Chastain, they all pit, which officially began the final round of pit stops. But after pit stops, after all that was completed, Larson, who pitted 1 lap later than Chase Elliott, was able to beat Chase Elliott once pit stop cycled through and opened up to a really big lead, maybe I think 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Chase Elliott. But he was not the leader, not yet. Denny Hamlin, he was still the race leader because he had not pitted yet for fuel and tires, and he needed to put up strong lap times to help build a gap so that when he pits, he doesn't lose that much ground. But when you're doing this, like what he did in turn number 12, when you go off the racetrack, that does not help your case. Goes off the racetrack into the grass. Eventually, he will come onto pit road and pit with 20 to go alongside with Tyler Reddick. And Reddick, who is his biggest competitor, is Austin Dillon. He comes out just ahead of him, which is what Reddick needed to do in order to help his chances of making it into the playoffs. Chase Briscoe had more issues. He had to pit again after flat spotting his tires again, which included him going off track in turn 12. And that was really it. Honestly, when the laps were winding down, I was getting ready to say, oh, Kyle Larson dominating yet another race for his 6th win of the season. And I was going to say this was a really good race. Very clean, but aggressive, exciting race. And then the caution comes out with 10 laps to go for debris in turns 5 and 6. And this is when, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, all hell breaks loose. So let's set the backstory. Everyone except 4 drivers, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Matt DiBenedetto, and Chase Briscoe pit. Because those 4 drivers, they pitted a lot later than everybody else. So, of course, they stayed out. Larson and Byron, they come off 1 and 2 on pit road. Chase Elliott, on the other hand, he comes out maybe 12th or 13th because he had a disastrous pit stop. He had on the right side, the jack fell on the car, and Elliott lost, like I said, 10 to 12 spots and would eventually restart 16th on the grid. Then when we got to racing on a restart, under 10 laps to go in turns 5 and 6, Chastain or DiBenedetto, one of those 2 drivers, runs over turns 5 and 6, the turn 6 curb, I should say. Then, a bunch of debris just scattered everywhere all over the racetrack and included Martin Truex Jr. spinning into the inside tire barrier. Somehow, for some odd reason, no caution, which was shocking to me. The fact that there was so much debris that flew across the racetrack, the fact that there was no caution very shocked me and a lot of people. 1 lap later, it went from bad to worse. William Byron went over that same curb. Then all of a sudden, the car just exploded. He spins. Kyle Busch spins as well. Joe Logano, he got the worst end of the deal. He ran over the curb and just went straight. Hard impact to the tire barriers. He was okay though, but he just had a bunch of other drivers with damage. Kevin Harvick was involved. I think Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece was involved that had damage. There were just so many drivers that just spun all across turns 5 and 6. I mean, it looked like there was oil on the racetrack and drivers had no control. Every car that just went by the camera or went by turn 6 was just spinning every single time. And the curb was so damaged to the point where the track actually had to go in and remove it completely. And so now, turn 6, there was no curb. There was just a little dark patch of where the curb used to be. You had track officials trying to clean it up as there was a red flag for the removal of the curb. Not only that, but then you had James Davison who spilled oil all over turns 1 and 2, or turn 1, I should say, specifically. So now you had a bunch of speedy dry and oil in turn 1, and now you have no curb in turn 6. Me and a lot of other people, let's just say we were nervous. I was quite nervous for this restart because I was afraid that this is not going to end that well. And I was right. First overtime, Denny Hamlin goes to protect the inside lane to prevent Chase Briscoe from getting a run. Kurt Busch decides he wants to go to the outside of Kyle Larson and smacks the wall in trying to do so. They all get by though. No problems in turns 1 and 2. Hamlin the race leader. But then turns 5 and 6. I said this. I had a feeling that they were not going to make turn 6 with ease, and I was right. Turn 6 for the first time in race conditions without the curb. Michael McDowell hits the turtle, goes up in the air. Austin Dillon then slams into him. Tyler Reddick gets also involved, as well as Martin Truex Jr. And we get another caution. Then the second overtime restart. And that is when just absolute chaos, even more chaos took place. Entering turn number 1, Hamlin and Chase Briscoe, they were really close side by side. Briscoe then just goes off course, comes back on the racetrack, ends up getting side by side with him and Denny Hamlin. Then when they went by turns 5 and 6 without the curb, I think you had Brad Keselowski. He spun. I think another driver also spun behind everybody else. But because Chase Briscoe went through the grass, he went through 2 corners at the racetrack, he was penalized by NASCAR and had to make either a stop and go penalty or a drive-through penalty. But then literally moments after that graphic was displayed, he just dumps Denny Hamlin, runs into the back of him, doesn't look like he holds up. Doesn't look like he holds up at all. Just spins Denny Hamlin. Hamlin goes around, ends Hamlin's day. Chase Briscoe has to do a stop and go. He's out of this race. All of a sudden, AJ Allmendinger out of nowhere, he goes from 3rd to 1st in 1 turn. And somehow he's able to hold on. There was no more chaos on the final lap. Allmendinger holds on to score his 2nd NASCAR Cup Series victory, his first victory since Watkins Glen back in 2014. This is Kaulig Racing's 5th race in the Cup Series? And they are already a NASCAR Cup Series winner. There was so much that happened. Like, I was in disbelief. With everything that happened, I was in such disbelief. I remember sitting there when the race finished. I was speechless for about a minute or so. I was thinking, did that really just happen? It did. It did just happen. Allmendinger is a NASCAR Cup winner. Then I was expecting Denny Hamlin to try and maybe throw some fists upon Chase Briscoe's direction, but surprisingly, it was pretty tame. Hamlin and Chase Briscoe both gave their sides on what happened.
You accepting that, Denny?
I mean, it's not I agree it's not on purpose. I mean, but my team told me they had a penalty right away, and to me, it's obvious if you cut the racetrack and you end up in the lead, you're gonna have a penalty. So lack of awareness, and then I just said race me for a lap. It just run right in the back of me. I mean, how are we can't race that way. So he didn't. I don't think he did it malicious. I've raced, with him for a year now. It's, he's not that kind of person, but it was just a bad judgment.
How would you describe the racing down into turn 1? Obviously, everybody going for it.
Yeah, no doubt. I got hit by the 16 entering the corner, so he shoved me out. Then I shoved him to the right, and then the 14 cut the track and took the lead for this second there. And I don't know. I thought we were probably in good shape there, but I mean this just turns everything upside down.
So you have to think about what Chase said to you, or you feel like his explanation is something you can accept and deal with?
I mean, I can accept it. I mean, I've the roles have been reversed other times, right? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I've been on the giving end of a mistake, so I get it. To me, it's just a lack of situational awareness of, like, obviously you're going to have a penalty if you cut the racetrack like you did. So, I'm not like furious over him. It's just, it sucks. It obviously turned our day upside down.
I mean, obviously he's upset. I would have been too. He just came down there and asked what I was doing. I don't think he realized I didn't even know I had a penalty until we got to turn 10. I asked my spotter after the race and didn't ever hear, but we got to turn 10 and actually exited 10, and that's when he said, hey, we got to stop and turn 10. I even came on the radio. I said, which one's 10? And then I just tried stopping down there because I didn't know if that would make up for it or not. And yeah, I mean, I get why he's upset. I would have been upset too, but Denny's been in my situation where you're trying to go for your first win, and he asked why I didn't wait. Well, I felt like that was my best opportunity to win the race is if I could get under him there, and I knew AJ was going to be quick either way, and I had older tires, so I had to try to get going when I could, and I'm sorry that it ruined his day. That was never my intention. So I get why he's upset. Like I said, I would have been too, but I didn't know I had a penalty until I got to turn 10. So I get why he's mad for sure. If I would have known I had a penalty, I would have never even tried to pass him there because it would have not meant anything. But as far as I knew, at that moment in time, I was going for the win. So that's what I'm paid to do, and that's what I was trying to do.
So are you telling me that when you ultimately had contact and turned him, that wasn't retaliation for him running you wide or anything else?
No, not at all. I felt like I wanted to beat him fair and square. I don't ever want to wreck anybody for the win. I've never wrecked anybody on purpose in my life. So, I knew that a lot of guys had been leaving that bottom lane open, and I almost got passed by Cindric there last year. So I knew that was a spot where a lot of guys were kind of just lazy and they'd forget about it. So I went to turn off underneath him, and when I did, I just nicked him in the right rear quarter, and it turned him the other way. And like I said, I totally get why he's mad. I would have been the same way, but yeah, that was never my intention to wreck him. I had no reason to wreck him. He's doing what he had to do, getting into one, trying to outbrake me. I was trying to outbrake him. That's part of racing, so part of it. And unfortunate for us because thought we were going to get in the playoffs there for a second, but we got 2 more weeks left, and that's what we're trying to do.
So let's take a look at the results for this race. I have them up on my phone. I don't even have time to really show them, but I have them up on my phone. So Allmendinger wins. Second is Blaney. Third is Kyle Larson. Fourth, Chase Elliott. Matt DiBenedetto rebounds for a top 5 finish. Kurt Busch 6th. Eric Jones 7th. Justin Haley in 8th place. How about colleague teammates? Technically, they're not really teammates in the Cup Series, but in the Xfinity Series, both drivers get a top 10. Also, Cindric, after a really rough day, he manages to get a top 10 in 9th place. Ryan Newman also finishes in 10th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 11th. Chris Buescher 12th. Bubba Wallace in 13th. If you remember back at the incident when the first curb problems, he went through the grass. He was black flagged by NASCAR. He was penalized by NASCAR and was sent to the rear for cutting the course. Manages a rebound for 13th place. Harvick in 14th. Truex 15th. LaJoie 16th. And then Bowman. Balicki in 18th place. How about that? Eric Almirola 19th. And Kyle Busch rounds out the top 20. And then from 21st on back, our majority of the drivers were involved in those incidents, like Tyler Reddick, Quinn Half, Denny Hamlin 23rd, Brad Keselowski 24th, Custer and Briscoe 25th and 26th, and then Timmy Hill, Garrett Smithley, Ross Chastain, and Michael McDowell. And from then on back, there were the drivers that were involved in that 8 laps ago crash in turn 6. Let's take a look at the playoff grid after Indianapolis. Now, even though Denny Hamlin, he was not able to win at Indianapolis to score his first win of 2021. His name is now colored in green. He now has enough points to be mathematically in contention for the championship. So he will not have to worry about Daytona. 14 drivers locked in. 2 spots up for grabs. Kevin Harvick plus 95 above the cut line. Tyler Reddick, what a job that he did. He did what he needed to do, scored 20 stage points. Now he opens up his lead to 28 ahead of Austin Dillon. DiBenedetto minus 145, Buescher 146, Ross Chastain 20th minus 176 with 2 races to go in the regular season. Next weekend at Michigan, and then 2 weeks from now at Daytona. My thoughts on this race. All right. Before that caution with 10 laps to go, An incredible bat. What a race that was. Like I said, a lot of action, a lot of battles throughout the race, especially storylines with the front runners of Larson and Elliott, Briscoe, Allmendinger. Yeah, so many drivers that showed a lot of speed, Truex as well. But we got to talk about that curb incident. So many times, you have to understand, throughout the 3 days of racing, that curb has been hit on so many times, aggressively. So many times that has been hit on throughout 3 days of racing for both Xfinity, Cup, and IndyCar. So I think it might have been wear and tear that caused that curb to come apart. But also, NASCAR should be at fault because they should have thrown the caution before we even got back around the racetrack, because there was so much debris that was scattered all over the racetrack when Chastain and DiBenedetto went through that curb. And the fact that they didn't throw a caution, didn't do nothing, it's just mind-boggling, because with that much debris that was scattered all over the racetrack, and on top of that, the fact there was a radiator pan that was wedged underneath the curb that I think could have made the curb less stable and had more of a possibility of maybe becoming loose, or I don't think coming apart, but at least, like I said, not being as stable. The fact that NASCAR or IMS didn't do anything to maybe check the curb or check the track to see if everything's okay is mind-boggling, to say the least. This is not as bad as the 2008 Indy tire debacle, because that was the entire race. This one just happened from 10 to go onwards, but what a shit show. What an absolute shit show. I was worried to the point where I thought NASCAR should just call the race, because we had 2 red flags, both involving that turn 6 corner. And IMS, they really need to take a look at that curb or do something over there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe more than likely we're going to come back next year. Maybe instead of having that turtle over there, have grass, so that's a reminder that, hey, don't touch that part, or something. I don't know. I think it's okay to have a curb, but then have grass or something, but don't have a turtle. All right. I don't like that. I think they need to fix that, or they need to make some serious changes, not only from IMS, but also NASCAR's officiating, because this is too many times NASCAR has been absolute idiots in officiating. New Hampshire, a couple weeks ago, it was clearly raining, and yet they still let the cars go green. Guess what? They all wrecked in turn number 1. Same thing again here at Indy. The 1 lap prior to that chaos in turn 6, there was debris scattered everywhere across the racetrack. It was like there was one little piece of debris. It was everywhere. There were large parts of debris scattered across the racetrack. Still, nothing was done. Nothing. It's like, I don't know what NASCAR's mindset or their philosophy is. Like, I don't know if they just want to get the race done as quick as possible or what. I don't know. That, in my opinion, that was avoidable. Now, what was interesting was the fact that the curb, they looked at that curb, I think, 2 or 3 times throughout the race weekend. I think this was during the races. I don't know. I think maybe Indy next time we come back here, if we're going to do an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader again, maybe after every race, check the curbs, see if they're up to par, because especially how hard the NASCAR Cup cars are hitting the curb. You compare it to an Indy car, and an Indy car is what? 1,700 pounds. A NASCAR Cup car is 3,400 pounds, and they zoom by the turn 6 curb every single time. I won't be surprised if, I think Steve Letarte said on the broadcast, that wear and tear of that curb being used up so many times. I'm pretty sure that turn 6 curb was being used up more than every other curb on the racetrack, considering the fact that on how fast they hit it. It's one way to hit it at 45. It's another way to hit it at maybe 60, 70, or 80 miles an hour. So I don't know. The race, it's like, I want to split it up into 2 stages, all right? Lap 1 till 10 laps to go, race of the year, or at least a candidate for race of the year. 10 laps to go to the finish. What the hell? What the hell was that shit show? It was a shit show. That's all that it was. 10 laps to go onwards was a shit show. I don't know. I hope the fans enjoyed it, because I know NASCAR and Indy, they've not had a real good relationship. And we're hoping, or at least I was hoping, that this race could bring in some new life to the racetrack. And it looked as though that was going to be the case. But then when everything that happened from 10 laps to go onwards, I'm afraid that if that's all people are going to remember about, and maybe not considering coming back to Indy next year. I hope that's not the case, but I don't know. Would you say this race is a success? I don't know if this race was just mental. This race was mental. I don't even know what to say about this race. At least a good thing about this race is that unlike previous Brickyard 400s, this race got people talking. So you could say that, like, at least people are talking about NASCAR at the Brickyard now. Unlike years prior where it was just another race and no one cared about it. So at least he got that going on, but like, I get it. NASCAR, they're all about entertainment. Not all the race entertainment's first, racing is second. That's NASCAR, and that's today's NASCAR. So I might not like it, but I think in NASCAR's eyes, they loved it. I think NASCAR loved what happened. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, why else would you let the race go green when there's debris all over the racetrack? I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just repeating the same amount of stuff, so I'm just going to move on and say, hey, congratulations to AJ Allmendinger and Colleague Racing. How about that? I've loved this team, especially in the Xfinity Series. I've loved to see this team grow. I mean, they were a team that was barely just making their way into the top 12, top 16 in the Xfinity Series, and now they're in contention week in and week out for the Xfinity Series Championship. And now they've won in the Cup Series at Indianapolis of all tracks. So I'm very happy for AJ, considering the fact that I don't know how his career has gone in NASCAR. I love to see him on the road back up to the top. And it's very cool to see them because now they got a ton of momentum heading into 2022, going full time in the Cup Series with the next gen car. So really interesting to see how they can grow from this race. Yeah. I'm sorry. Part of me wants to. I want to laugh at this. I want to laugh at this race because of just how chaotic this was. I was not expecting that. The race started at 1 p.m. Thing is, stage 1 and stage 2, they were so good, so clean. Well, I shouldn't say clean. There were a lot of moments, but it was good. Nothing really out of the ordinary. And then everything just went off the rails with 10 laps to go. Part of me wants to laugh, but part of me just wants to be like, what was that? I don't know. I was entertained. I enjoyed it. I don't know. What do y'all think? Did y'all enjoy it? Did y'all enjoy the race? Tell me in the comment section down below what are your thoughts on the event. I'm looking forward to next year. I will say that. But yeah, that's it for this episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Congratulations to AJ Allmendinger, your winner at Indianapolis.